Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Genshin Impact lore reading session. We just went through a bunch of awesome content for today. We learned about a lot regarding Nodcry. We just did the Nodcry combat event, which gave us a lot of lore on Nodcry, the Frost Moon Scions, the power of magic, presumably being an existing element that predates the 7 elements of Teyvat and Celestia. We have so much lore on, like, a potential moon deity, the secret source dragon technology existing within the regions of Snezhnaya as well, which is incredible. A lot of awesome stuff to look forward to for the Tsaritsa, for Snezhnaya in the months to come. But for this video, we are finally going to be checking out all of the lore-relevant content regarding Mavuika, as I do have her at Friendship. I think she's at Friendship 8 or 9 as of right now, which has unlocked all of her lore. We did do the Archon quest. We did do her story quest as well with Shibalanke. We're basically just going to be going through the same song and dance as we typically do with very heavily lore-focused characters, sitting down, recording content. This will eventually be uploaded to YouTube, where we're going to be learning more about Mavuika, her role as an Archon, a bit of her past, her ambitions, and just more information about her. I know the other Archons have also had their voice lines updated to feature her. They kind of do that every year. When a new Archon comes out, the other Archons have something to mention about that one. So next year with Snezhnaya, all of the Archons will have an opinion of each other, which is with the Tsaritsa. So yeah, so we are going to be checking out a bunch of things for today. Before we get into Mavuika, we are going to be checking out the lore of the weekly boss, actually. I have not checked out or read anything on the weekly boss or its boss drops, and given the fact that the weekly boss is an abyssal memory resurrection of the Pyro Dragon Sovereign, heavily related to the Archon given its authority, I felt like it was important to at least feature a session of just reading it and checking it out. I think that's one of the coolest bosses of the game, and the fact that they were heavily involved in the overall history of Natlan, I actually thought we would get the actual Pyro Dragon Sovereign. I think I even mentioned during, like, Simulanka, or even early, it was either at some point during Simulanka or early Natlan, that, like, oh, it'd be cool if we could resurrect the Pyro Dragon Sovereign. Technically, it got resurrected, but it got like reanimated by the Abyss, which was hilarious. So I was kind of like ghostwriting, but kind of not. But let us check this out. Let's see. Lord of Eroded Primal Fire, a fell dragon congealed from the power of pitch black darkness, a monster of the void known as both the Reaper of the Abyss and Gosoithoth. It is able to corrupt memories contained within the ley lines of the earth, congealing them in a tangled force of catastrophic portent. From these memories that since time immemorial have flowed below the land, it has managed to extract the remnant will of a primordial elemental dragon sovereign, drawing it out like marrow to repurpose as a foundation of its own fabricated image. Basically, Gosoithoth took the form of the Pyro Dragon Sovereign by yoinking its memories from the ley lines. The ley lines was a means of combating the Abyss, but because Natlan, they were, like, destroyed and messed up, like, that's how it was able to get this, which is crazy. But is it truly a mere image brought back by the very otherworldly force it had once resisted? A once dead dragon opens its eyes anew, forsaking all in this brief dream of a resurrection. Trapped perpetually in the final days of its existence by this pitch-black gospel, its boundless fury has consumed all reason. Now, what remains is its unrelenting lust for battle, burning on without end. So yeah, Gosoithoth literally revived Shiuquatl after it got finessed by Shibalanke and was just like, yeah, just fight, because you got nothing left. The Abyss was just puppeteering an abyssal primal sovereign, which is insane. We're gonna continue. There's actually a couple of weekly boss drops that we got here. The Lord of Eroded Primal Fire's blazing horn, cut off in the heat of battle. Legend has it that the original Primal Fire was the birthplace of light and wisdom, and the horn of the Pyro Dragon shone like a pillar of fire, illuminating the savage, desolate world. And though the base of its flaming horn is now corroded, the light that once illuminated the world remains without blemish. So you can see, like, its main horn is lit and then the other part of it is eroded. Yeah, this sucks, man. We could have had Shiuquatl brought back and fighting alongside Nuvolette and a Pep for humanity against Celestia, but they were just like, nah, the Pyro Dragon got bodied by the Heavenly Principles. He got bodied by the freaking first pyro, what then became the first pyro archon, Shibalanke, and then they brought his ass back from the grave to get bodied again by the current pyro archon and the Traveler. So bro got laid out 3 times. You know, they say 3rd time's the charm, which is crazy. Next up, we have Eroded Sunfire. Though the battle with the Lord of Eroded Primal Fire has ended, its ring-shaped flame yet burns. In the beginning, in the deepest, darkest of nights, the Master of Flame emmolded the sun, thus supplanting the light of the starry skies. Though the flame's glow has been halfway corroded, it still reflects the world of old in its glory. Yeah, I like that. So the sun is like half sun and then half abyss. So this is also kind of low-key implying that the Pyro Dragon Sovereign is responsible for creating the sun, which is wild. I wonder if the Cryo Dragon Sovereign is responsible for this Frost Moon nonsense that's being talked about in Nodcry at the moment. And lastly, we have Eroded Scale Feather, a pitch black scale that fell on the ground after the battle against the Lord of Eroded Primal Fire. The ancient dragons once used their fallen scales as a means to transmit secret messages and edicts. These scales have been utterly corroded by the power of darkness. The light that was once engraven upon it wholly devoured, leaving naught but twisted, dark remnants. I'll be honest though, dragon communication, dragon technology, just the ways of the dragons are so interesting. How they used phlogiston and how they use like ancient like iridescent inscriptions to communicate and pass messages, and even their scales amongst themselves is so fascinating. I think phlogiston is such a cool concept. 07s to Shioquatl, your death gave rise to one of the most goated archons of all time. One of the coolest archon versus archon like sparring matches that we've ever gotten in Mavuika Story Quest, which was so freaking fire, no pun intended. Such a cool sequence, and low-key, we have to thank him for it. Let us get into the lore reading of the Pyro Archon Mavuika. The leader of Natlan, who inherited the ancient name of Kion Gozi. She made a vow to illuminate the future of the nation of war with the sacred flame. Character details. When the name Mavuika is mentioned, the citizens of Natlan will not be stingy with their praises, for she has proven herself well qualified and worthy of respect, be it as a leader or archon. She is the pinnacle of strength in Natlan, and she has the bearing to match. Even newly arrived travelers seem to only hear her speak at the Stadium of the Sacred Flame to know that she merits being known as the Sun. She is exceedingly awe-inspiring, yet is no unsmiling ruler whose ways may be well but set in stone. In informal situations, she is an enthusiastic and friendly big sister figure, always ready to chat and even open to reasonable suggestions. On the eve of the pilgrimage of the return of the Sacred Flame, which is still a mouthful to this day, the Weary Inn is often packed with passionate revelers, and Mavuika can often be found there, playing cards or singing songs with everyone. And even if some drunk person splashes their drink onto her, she doesn't mind at all. After all, for someone who can ignite their hair to dry off said drink, the incidents are small beans. That's actually wild that she could do that. When such levity is hard to come by, why let something so minor spoil the mood? But should the person intend to start a drinking contest, it is Mavuika's desire to win that will be kindled. Good lord. Yo, I don't know, man. I don't know if you want to get... Actually, I think Sitlali can't really hold her liquor that much. I could see Mavuika drinking anyone under the table. Yo, Mavuika in Venti? She does like her grape juice, though. Oh my god, I need her to go to the Angel Share and, like, get a drink from Charles, which is hilarious because I think, like, D-Luke has some, like, ancestry with Mavuika because of the red hair. That'd be so funny. Yeah, or Grandmaster Varka. I think drink it like a drinking game with him or, like, a drinking session with him would be pretty cool. As the battle has begun, there is no room for retreat or surrender. The victor will be determined one way or another. Since becoming Archon, her habits have remained utterly unchanged, and this has allowed her to make many friends across the tribes. However, not everyone possesses the subtle sense of proper propriety for such a relationship. Indeed, she can be too down-to-earth, and with her lack of heirs, some misjudge the situation and get the false impression that she may use their friendship with the Archon to their own benefit. Strangely enough, though people of this sort are a dime a dozen, they have never caused any major trouble, for Mavuika has never responded to such ridiculous requests. A solemn, icy stare is all she needs to send the other party scampering away. The sight of those ever-burning eyes casting such a frigid gaze wakes those confused fools up in an instant to the fact that Mavuika is still the leader of a nation, a supreme deity. A Speaker's Chamber staff member once suggested that she should subject those who so harass her to at least token punishment, lest there be an endless stream of incidents to come. But she refused. Archonhood is status, authority, and a spiritual symbol, but it is not who I am. What a humble and relatable leader, am I right, guys? She's literally the reflection of humanity as well as, oh, Captain, my Captain. They were like two sides of the same coin. They were so goated. They were like peanut butter and jelly. They went so well together. But yeah, Mavuika, she's humble, she's strong, she knows where her strength lies. She knows where it's needed. She knows where banter and good vibes are had. I'm one of y'all. I'm a human. I'm not some, like, manifestation of time and wind or, like, an old dragon or something like that. I'm literally a normal human that bleeds blood just like the rest of y'all. You know, she uses her power responsibly, which is great. As do all the archons, for better or for worse, you know. No one's perfect, and everyone has their flaws as characters, and so her biggest flaw is that she's human. We are defined by our flaws, so I think that it's great that she's able to walk this balance of, like, divine humanity, in a sense. Let's get into the real stuff. Character story 1. Theoretically, anyone in Natlan can become the Pyro Archon, so long as they prove that they are the mightiest warrior of their era during a pilgrimage. Therefore, the rules of the nation have varied wildly in personality and style. Some worshipped power and strength, valuing results. To them, any result was acceptable so long as the ends could be achieved. Mavuika is just the opposite. In the eyes of others, she is undoubtedly your typical perfectionist. Not only must things be done well, but also beautifully. To pursue quality and completeness is only human, but doing so often requires extra time. And whenever anyone tells her that such an approach isn't efficient enough, Mavuika has a set of arguments at the ready. First, there is no standalone event in this world. Tracing events backwards reveals causes. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Tracing events backwards reveals causes, while moving forward reveals outcomes. Humans are incapable of analyzing the whole chain of events. All they can do is handle each one as best they can and avoid leaving hidden pitfalls. Second, all past events become valuable experiences. Yo, true. Success serves as references and failures as lessons. But if matters were dealt with carelessly, all that would leave are warnings to not repeat the same mistakes. But apart from these two ideals, Mavuika also has a very important reason for her approach that she rarely ever mentions, and that is fun. She has a broad range of hobbies and has unparalleled skill in the various sports and games popular across the tribes. But one sentence can sum up all of these interests. She loves getting better at things. For example, when she first learned how to rock climb, she would commit every movement her coach made to memory and ask in detail about every last maneuver. Her next step was to train, and train a lot, making her body remember the tricks behind every movement, gradually executing them faster and faster. She even requested someone to record the entire process with a camera, all the better to study any failures in areas where she wasn't fluid enough. She would also talk with her coach and use various tools and equipment in order to solve problems she encountered, enumerating lists of solutions and trying out each one in turn before choosing the best. In this way, Mavuika honed her climbing skills to perfection, most quickly indeed, and her questions grew even harder for her coach to answer, eventually shifting their relationship from that of teacher and student to that of lovers of climbing, delving into their craft together. It's kind of incredible too, because like her painting, like how she was able to paint her family's portrait from memory, the fact that she burned that picture in Act 2, but then she started painting it in Act 5, and by the end of Act 5, it was literally like painted with a new background, which was incredible. That was like insane to me, that she was able to remember and paint that from memory. I mean, it was her family. It's probably like her most treasured possession, you know? In other fields, there were even more exaggerated cases. In some cases, Mavuika would come to surpass masters with 3 to 4 decades of experience after just a single year of study. The reason behind this was actually quite simple. Building up skills is easy, but maintaining progress is hard. Once memories have sunk into one's body, it becomes easy for one to grow self-satisfied and complacent, and thus cease to actively think. As such, one thing Mavuika detests is repetition. If a deed done before it must be done again, then it must be done differently in some way, whether by trying something new or else through reflection and optimization. But it is difficult for most to see all of the effort she has put into this, and thus, her swift progress is often put down to talent. She's like every other human, it's just, she really wants it. Like, she really wants to cement herself in, like, being a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. Kind of reminds me of Rock Lee from Naruto in that sense, where bro was just, like, head empty, only taijutsu, and bro, like, trained every waking moment until he became, like, a taijutsu master. So she just, like, did that. She just, like, trained every single day until she became, like, an expert. Because she's so good at so many things, people just think it's talent, but she works just as hard as they do. It's just other people probably give up where she keeps going. To this, she can only wryly smile, for who in this world was born with such a forfeit of talent? If you want to improve, all you have to do is master the skill of improvement, and then just put in the work. I love that. Master the skill of improvement. So you have to get better at getting better. And then you just have to put in the time and it'll come to you. Mavuika is like the prime example of that, I guess, in Natlan. Character story 2. Mavuika gives the impression of being a most avid outdoors woman. When not at work or training, she can be seen in all sorts of places, throwing herself at various extreme challenges. But what people often fail to realize is that she actually can also sit still for long periods of time, staying focused as she reads books or woven scrolls, as she possesses ample patience. Patience is a virtue, let me tell you. I'm probably the most patient person I know because being surrounded by extreme levels of impatient people my whole life just made me a more patient person. Her other great indoor hobby is solving puzzles, whether these involve logical reasoning or pattern recognition, and regardless if their contents are images, numbers, or even stories, all quickly suck her into a world of her own. After enjoying time well spent making deductions and decisions, she even scores these puzzles based on their quality, difficulty, and reasonability, so that her fellow puzzle hobbyists have a reasonable standard to refer to. Yet this hobby of hers comes to pose a problem. Puzzle games are usually one-time sources of entertainment and lack replay. Damn, she wants a puzzle that she can constantly solve. Yeah, they lack replayability, and Mavuika tends to solve them all too quickly, faster than even the ability of puzzle creators to develop new ones. As such, while keeping an eye on any new puzzles that come to market, Mavuika also dusts off already solved puzzles and adds... Bro, she literally takes the puzzle and makes it more difficult? That's crazy. That's wild. Wow, while doing a puzzle, she might allow herself to select pieces normally and flip the pieces while placing them, thus only being able to see if she has the puzzle right after placing each piece and flipping the whole thing back over. Or perhaps if the puzzle requires separating multiple connected pieces of metal, she can affix one piece to the table, thus restricting the number of directions in which she conveniently pulls the pieces apart, requiring her to consider alternatives, a restriction that can also be applied to not puzzles. Over time, she has compiled the various gameplay challenges she has come up with and puzzle ratings she has given, creating a most valuable curation catalog of puzzles. That's what Hoyoverse does. They go into Mavuika's bag of tricks and give us a new puzzle every year. At first, she published it to the Speaker's Chamber, hoping that she could help her fellow hobbyists and also promote this relatively niche hobby while she was at it. But the quickest to seize upon the utility of the resources she created were, in fact, sellers of puzzles. They used the recommendation of the Pyro Archon oh, wow. The sellers of puzzles basically were like, hey, the Pyro Archon endorses this, you should buy it. They used the recommendation of the Pyro Archon herself to shamelessly peddle their puzzles, but this quickly led to numerous disputes. Approval though it be, Mavuika's catalog only indicated her personal preferences, while the full scope of human taste in puzzles is vast indeed. Following that incident, Mavuika no longer publicly disclosed her catalog, but if one truly considered oneself a puzzle enthusiast, one can still go to the speaker's chambers and request to view it, with the caveat that you must first prove yourself an expert by solving a random puzzle selected from Mavuika's collection by the speaker staff, of course. Dude, she's a big brain freaking archon, goddamn. I'm not the biggest fan of puzzles, personally. Like, I love a decent puzzle, but I'm not trying to be here for like an hour trying to figure out how to get this freaking square peg into this round hole. I like a decently, like, average-brained puzzle, you know? Give me one of those and I'll be proud of myself. What I'm curious about, though, is because the puzzles were of her creation and they were her personal catalog, I wonder if she had to burn those all away as well in her office. I'm sorry, Mavuika. I'll buy you a puzzle for your birthday. Okay, I swear. Also, when is her birthday again? Just curious. Okay, August 28th. Oh, wow, okay. I think that's regarded as, like, one of the hottest days of the summer as well, which is kind of funny. All right, character story 3. Mavuika was born to a very ordinary family of the Scion of the Canopy, the best tribe in Natlan. I do not want to hear your opinion, doesn't matter. I speak for all of us when I say Scions of the Canopy is the greatest tribe in Natlan. Her mother was bold and passionate, but lacked caution, while her father was knowledgeable, but taciturn, and the two would constantly clash from the moment they were married. Look at that, and then you had kids. The birth of their child changed everything. Mavuika was like a small, pure, burning sun, constantly casting rays of warmth in all directions. Aww. The streaming light, scattering and burning away the barriers and gloom that lay between them. Young Mavuika was curious about everything and anything, and whenever her father would answer her questions, he would draw a worshipful gaze and warm, genuine smile from her, a process that gradually taught him the joys of communicating with others and sharing his thoughts. Holy fuck, we're getting Mavuika's dad lore. This man was absent the whole Archon quest. It's about goddamn time we learned something about this man. While she gained knowledge from her father, Mavuika would pester her mother to bring her out on adventures every day. And on these, the brave young girl would always charge ahead, scaring her mother half to death. As this repeated time and again, her mother came to realize how her own reckless behavior must have seemed inappropriate in the eyes of others. Mavuika matured faster than any other child her age, and very quickly. The knowledge she had gleaned from her father allowed her to point out her mother's rashness, and the experiences she had with her mother allowed her to identify her father's overly idealistic thinking. Damn, like the way she perceived her parents led her to like expose the other parent. It's like, because mom raised me this way, I can point out these flaws in my dad, and because my dad raised me this way, I can point out the flaws of my mom. Like a bridge, she brings them together, really, or she kind of like points out both of their flaws and then she helps them to communicate and resolve it. Like a bridge, she stood between two people who could not at first communicate easily with one another, slowly dissolving the many contradictions and misunderstandings that had accumulated. That's like the best thing in the world, when your child is actually able to help make you a better person. You know what I mean? When her father taught her martial arts, her mother would give pointers from the side. And when her mother took her to train Saurians, her father would also come along. But the thing that really pushed Mavuika to take another step forward was the birth of another angel in the house. Her sister, Hine. Aww. Perhaps it was because Mavuika had already taken on responsibilities important to the family's relationship that she quickly got used to the role of an older sister, and step by step, she passed on all that she had learned from her parents to Hine. Hine was by no means easy to handle. She was naughty at times, quiet at others, and rarely obedient, which often resulted in the other three household members seated at the table simultaneously facepalming with a sigh. But even these were moments filled with warmth. Once, when Mavuika and her father were teaching her, Hine asked a question. If all the Pyro Archons are just humans, how could we be sure that every person who becomes one will be willing to protect us? It's precisely because we are all ordinary people who don't need such guarantees. Daddy, I don't get it. You're talking in riddles again. Ask your sister then. I'm sure she's figured this one out already, a long while ago, in fact. Mavuika simply smiled and hugged her sister, patting her on the head, and said nothing more on the matter. Wholesome family. Damn, that's like an ideal household right there. Love, understanding, communication, reassurance, fun, warmth. That is so good. This actually kind of reinforces her trailers a bit more. Like the trailers where we saw like her mom and her sister, and it makes it all the more painful when she had to tell them what she had to do and how she had to like die and be reborn to save Natlan's future. I'm so glad she got to see her sister and dream of her sister in the Night Kingdom. I just wish her dad was involved a little bit. Like, we saw him in the picture and then, like, he didn't even come to see her off. I guess it's because he knew that responsibility, or maybe he knew himself enough to know, like, he would have probably tried to stop her or something. So maybe he didn't show up for that reason. But this shows that, like, she had a very loving family. All right, character story for... Oh, my God. Okay, chat, this is where it gets real. 500 years ago, when Mavuika's plan to save Natlan was revealed to the chiefs and the elite warriors, there were stark divisions of opinions. Some believed that the loss of a leader and warrior as important as Mavuika was unacceptable, for there could be no future to speak of if the present era cannot be defended. In the end, however, the majority vote were persuaded by Mavuika, or by various tribal chiefs, for hers was the only plan that provided any hope of victory. Even though to those at the time it seemed incredibly risky, it had slim odds of success anyways. Guided by an unspoken understanding, the warriors visited her speaker's chambers as one, offering their most important Oh my God! Guided by an unspeakable understanding, the warriors visited her speaker's chambers as one, offering their most important belongings to be used as fuel in case of any future emergencies. The past saved her ass in the future, guys. They actually saved us! The past people of Natlan saved us, actually. Because Mavuika didn't use that for her. She used that for all of us, actually. Yo, shout out to Natlan 500 years ago. We would have been cooked without you. These brave people were proud of this necessary sacrifice and did not hesitate in the least. But Mavuika called out to each of them before they could leave, offering them a hot drink and listened to them speak of the story behind these objects. She was willing to, and indeed had to carry these stories with her into the future, for memories can surpass time where human lifespans may fail. And though these objects may not endure into the future, so long as people still sing their stories, they could welcome the victorious dawn alongside the people of the future. And it worked. Thus did they all, old friends of Mavuika and relative strangers both, speak freely in the speaker's chambers, at times boasting their heroic accomplishments, and in others shedding silent tears for the passing of close kin and friends. Each item was well kept and maintained, and their numbers have only increased over the last 500 years, up until now. However, only a very few could finish the last of their drinks after telling their story, pause for a moment, and then ask Mavuika if she had similar stories she wanted to share. And with a smile on her face, she would speak of her parents, of Hine, and of two mischievous Yumkasors, of things she held dear in the time she was about to lose. All of this stuff is pretty important, isn't it? No. All of it ceases to be important the moment we decided on this plan. Even me. Oh my God. That's heavy, bro. And like, this is also kind of reflected when she was going through her divine throne on her journey, like where you were hearing all the people, all the conversations she was having, Shibalanke's voice, Wanjiru's voice, Child, Burkina, and, you know, everyone else in between, her mother, her sister, talking about her dad, like all of the tribal leaders, Tenoch, you know, everyone was basically like, I think those were like little bits and pieces of this story that they were talking about, of everyone in the speaker's chambers talking to her, giving their like final goodbyes and, you know, stories and mementos. And the worst thing too, actually, Mavuika's plan wasn't foolproof. Like, at the end of the day, she was going to sacrifice herself to Renova to buy another 200 to 300 years. So even her plan to sacrifice herself, to sacrifice her family, her future, like sacrifice her place in the past for the future, was still a means so that way she could then sacrifice herself for someone else to find out the answer, because she still didn't have it by that point. She had to use the power to stop the Abyss, but then it just meant that there would have been no one to stop after that, and the Abyss wasn't like done for good yet. Fortunately, Thrain came through and tied up loose ends, so they needed each other at the end of the day. Like, Mavuika needed Capitano to resolve the situation with the Night Kingdom, and Capitano needed Mavuika to defeat the Abyss, right? To hold them off for this plan to kind of go off without any interruptions. So they really were the two halves of the humanity coin when it came to the Archon quest. Character story 5. Mavuika always imagined her plan to fight against the Abyss as a lengthy journey, and herself as an adventurer carrying a full pack and marching towards her predetermined goal. Memory and love were the supplies she brought, and they would help her through the confusion and solitude. Within a world created through meditation, she would manifest this path, yeah. So it was almost kind of like her own plane of euthymia in a way. Like, A is able to do that, right? A was able to create like a mental consciousness for herself, and so she created this meditation path, and I guess that's what we were going through over the course of the Archon quest. A high tower would appear in the distance, the sacred flame burning at its summit, lighting her way and showing her the path. None knew how to get there, nor how far the journey would take her, but as her luggage grew even lighter, the journey stretched even further on with every step she took. Farewell, Atea said to her, and Tenoch, and her mother and sister. Farewell, Sunjata told her, and Burkina and Wanjiru also. The existence of the path to victory was not something to be taken for granted. Rather, it was forged by countless heroes, past and present. Rather than a savior then, Mavuika preferred to be known as an agent. But this alone was not enough. Her journey was no penance that required only willpower, but rather decisiveness and wisdom also. She would never have foreseen such marked variables as the Traveler or the Captain 500 years prior. But upon learning of them, she only needed a moment's consideration before deciding to incorporate them to the plan. In addition to any other considerations she might have had based on the realities of the situation, another factor played into her judgment, that both the Traveler and the Captain exhibited traits that mirrored her own. Yeah, the three heroes of Natlan. Were it not for their respective positions, she would have liked nothing more than for all three of them to sit and speak of their travels over grilled meat and drinks. After all, those who travel along the same road, never having a fixed residence, can best resonate with and understand one another. But she also had a deep understanding of the obstacles therein. Having traveled so far, it was only natural to not wish to show the fatigue or weakness in one's heart, and even she was no exception. She could easily tell stories about her comrades or family with a smile, but rarely she could speak of the sadness swown in the river of time by those happy moments, nor could she take out her long-emptied haversack, point to it, and speak of how it reflects the current state of her heart. She could not, she would not, and she did not need to. So, in the end, she kept a suitable distance, just as she always has. Everyone needed the ringing cheers and flowing wine of victory feasts, just as they needed the solitary time once the reverie faded. In this era, perhaps only one person would ever inappropriately knock on her door in peaceful moments. It was Sitlali. Perhaps it was her fondness for drink, or perhaps they just made suitable drinking buddies. Damn, Sitlali is like, hey, you want to drink and have a chat? Sitlali, best girl, guys. I've never been more confident about anything in my life for Genshin than Sitlali being best girl of Natlan. And yeah, she was there in the end too. She was the one that was like, wait a minute, Mavuika still has that death toll on her head, even after everything that happened, so she was always looking out for Mavuika. The motorcycle, the controversial flame strider, all right? Twitter will not be happy about this, guys, just saying. In emergencies, speed is the difference between life and death. Being well aware of this, Mavuika had long had the idea of constructing a multifunctional powerhouse of a vehicle. It needed to be both fast and sturdy, such that it would not damage while moving at high speed, no matter the circumstances. It needed to be able to traverse a wide variety of terrains, from cliffs to the water's surface and even the skies. After all, in critical situations, the quickest path is always a straight line. She's like, yeah, I just want to barrel through that freaking mountain. It also needed sufficient explosive power, such that it could serve as a weapon when necessary. Damn, she wants literally like the Swiss Army knife of mobility, the Swiss Army knife of vehicles. After all, in the event of an abyssal attack, time spent tangling the monsters was time wasted. Then, it had to be sufficiently compatible with Pyro, such that she could summon it with a mere flick of her wrist. These are my requirements. Well within your capacity, right, Shalonen? What? Even by themselves, each of her criteria was difficult to How did Shalonen do it? That's what I want. Shalonen's literally a fucking miracle worker. God damn. Even by themselves, each of her criteria was difficult to fulfill. Put together, the task was truly outrageous. Even an artisan skilled as Shalonen thought Mavuika off her rocker, and understandably so. But Mavuika had come with much more than just a request. She brought also ideas that would solve the problem involved. Long had she been scouring Natlan for all manner of strangely shaped source mechanisms, as yet uncorrupted by the Abyss, along with various design blueprints of unknown provenance. In the distant past, the ancient dragons too had tried to fight against the Abyss. Their methods were exceptionally brutal, and as a result, they had built many a mighty device that relied on raw power to achieve victory. As for the blueprints, those Mavuika had copied by hand and brought with her. If the secrets behind the schematics could be unlocked, the pre-existing devices reverse engineered, and the useful parts disassembled before being recombined, having considered things up to this point, Shalonen looked up at Mavuika's smiling face and knew she no longer had any reason to refuse, nor did she want to. What artisan would willingly miss out on making such a creation? Yeah, I know, right? Cloud Retainer would be Madge. Thus, the two of them joined forces to delve into the secrets behind the source mechanism. In the process, they discovered that their original assumptions were too simplistic. It was impossible to get all the key components they wanted from existing materials. The solution then was to use modern smithing techniques to create said parts individually and combine the two elements. A process that involved a lot of overheating and explosions en route, solving the pyro compatibility issue that source mechanism had. After a long period of development, the prototype Flame Strider was at last complete. No one had ever seen such a beastly creation with such powerful capabilities before, and people lined up to see and applaud it. Thus did the leader who protects Natlan gain yet another guaranteed source of strength. Also worth mentioning the fact that Shalonen declined to take part in the vehicle testing phase that followed, claiming that she had forgotten to make a second helmet. After all, sitting in the back of that thing while Mavuika drives is the great way to end up feeling queasy. She just reverse engineered the dragon's own technology and was like, I want a motorcycle that can do everything. Through rain, sleet, or snow, land, air, and sea. And through mountains if I ask for it. Through the abyss, goddammit. I want to fight, I want to set things on fire. I want marshmallow campfires with the Flame Strider. Make it happen, Shalonen. Lastly, for the lore reading, we have the vision. I'm surprised it says vision and not gnosis. When Mavuika was still very young, she had yet to develop a complete concept of life and death. It was at this time that her father achieved victory in the pilgrimage and was soon to embark on a glorious journey. In the culture and tradition of Natlan, to obtain this privilege is to become a hero, and Mavuika was immensely proud of her father for having done so. Thus, when her father came to say his farewells, she didn't quite understand the disquiet on her mother's face. I didn't realize her father participated in the Night Warden Wars. It was very uncommon for a team fighting in the Night Warden Wars to be completely wiped out. Did her dad die? The Archon quest implied that he was alive, but just didn't come to, like, see her off when she was resurrected. It was very uncommon for a team fighting in the Night Warden Wars to be completely wiped out. And even should some fall, their lives' flames could be rekindled by the Ode of Resurrection so long as the unit dispatched achieved victory. At last, news of victory came to the stadium, and it had been 3 days and nights of vicious battle, and it cost 3 out of the 7 warriors, Mavuika's father among them. Oh dear, so he died. Though she was somewhat worried, Mavuika knew the rite of rekindling would be akin to a victory feast. Her father would return to them from the sacred flame just as she remembered, and their family would be reunited. But contrary to her expectations, her father was covered in wounds from head to toe, so much so that he could not even stand on his own 2 feet. The Ode of Resurrection could rekindle life, but only the fatal wound could be reversed. Oh. So bro got battered and bruised before he died, and so he has his battle scars. The wounds that had slowly accumulated as the battle raged on, or pre-existing ailments, would not be cured. That's interesting. And it was precisely the length of the battle that had brought her father low. It was the first time Mavuika had seen her father in such a weak state, and for the first time she felt the gaze of death fixed on her, aka Renova looking at her from the heavens. That's such a terrifying line. The first time she felt the gaze of death, now that we know that she's a giant eyeball in the sky. It was still a thing to be respected and feared, even with the ode at hand. Having rarely cried in her life, Mavuika held her tears back this time too. She simply lowered her head in silence, gripping her father's hand as he lay in his sickbed, her heart filled, in truth, more with regret than sadness. Perceiving her thoughts, her father told her that this was the truth of war, that all fear death, but that some would always step forth to fight because they have something they wish to protect. But the world of children is not yet governed by so many expectations, and she did not understand why her father, and indeed all of the grown-ups, were willing to shoulder the duty of war. Since we're forced to fight this war, then I wish to put an end to it. I wonder if this is like the story of how she got a vision, and then she just won the pilgrimage, and then she became the archon and got the gnosis, I assume. Mavuika's eyes flashed like flames as she spoke, and her parents looked the other way with certainty dawning. They did not rush to deny the notion on account of their daughter's naivete. Instead, they nodded. Her parents' acknowledgement steeled her initial resolve, and thus did the gaze of the gods come to rest upon her. And though she would later learn many secrets and know more about the crisis that Natlan faced, she would never doubt the trust she saw in their eyes. She would believe that this was something that only she could do, not only because she was Kiangozi Mavuika, but also because she was her parents' daughter, their pride and joy. She was a daughter of the scions of the canopy, a daughter of Natlan. So I think this is like literal, like her vision of the future. Fighting for like, I think they gave us the okie doke here. I think they mean like this was her vision, her vision of the future. She was already, you know, regarded as Kiangozi at this point, so this was great. This is a great lore reading. What an amazing character. She is literally the embodiment of everything righteous and joyful about humanity. You love to see it. All right, guys, we get to hear all the lore now. I'm excited.
With the flames to guide us across time, we took a land shrouded in darkness and used our own blood and tears to forge it into a home. Now our journey continues, and a new chapter awaits. As the current Pyro Archon, allow me, Mavuika, to light your way forward.
Hell yeah.
Exploration and trials? Adventuring is right up my alley. Instead of confining themselves to the heavens, God should broaden their horizons in the world below.
You hear that, Celestia? Mavuika took that personally.
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same. Except we call that light hope.
Damn, low-key calling humans insects, but we move.
Nice and cool.
Oh.
Natlan doesn't have places like this.
Yeah, I have not been to Dragonspine with Mavuika, so that's kind of funny. That's kind of cool that she talks about the snow like that. I guess this will be useful when we go to Snezhnaya.
Weather like this is perfect for enjoying the outdoors. Want to go for a spin? Here, Hop on. Oh, you're dripping wet. That must be uncomfortable. Let's take a break. I'll use my fire to dry you off.
Guys, that's like the ultimate utility. Camping must be great with her.
Sand is the natural enemy of fire and civilization.
Ooh.
In the desert, ruins are all that remain to tell the story of the past.
Sand is the natural enemy of fire and civilization. Interesting.
After waking up, I always go over the plan for the day in my head. Unfortunately, sleeping in is never on the agenda.
That's so horrible. What do you mean you don't sleep in? You gotta sleep in at least once a week.
Oh, have you had lunch? The Collective of Plenty sent over some fresh fruit. The perfect thing to round out a meal.
Ooh.
Here, try some.
Oh, I can't wait to go to the Collective of Plenty. Couple patches, chat.
So this is the proposal and approximate budget to rebuild the roads in the Children of Echoes. Oh, good evening. Is it that late already?
Damn, she's out here doing budget work at night.
Good night. I'm gonna take it easy and wrap up some work. Oh, don't worry. I see keeping busy as a great way to relax.
Damn, she's literally like Jean. She's like, oh man, overtime? That's great. Like these overworked women, please.
Oh, my hair? Don't worry, these are friendly flames. They won't burn you or incinerate anything.
What?
Although I think our enemies will find that it's a bad idea to play with fire, if you know what I mean.
Dude, I wonder what fire feels like. That might sound weird. Touching flame that doesn't hurt you. The friendly flames reminded me of Melio from League of Legends, who I actually started maining in the last year. And he also has like these, they're called his Fuemigos, which are his flame friends, or his fire friends. Like there's like these little orbs of fire. And I think he calls them friendly flames as well. That kind of reminded me of that.
Every Pyro Archon throughout Natlan's history has left behind important knowledge and memories within the sacred flame, for the benefit of future successors. When inherited, the sheer amount of information can impact your sense of self.
Yeah.
So I chose to leave behind this phrase. Before you become one with flame, be proud of who you are now.
This was like Avatar: The Last Airbender incarnate. The fact that like your next, quote unquote, your next life, your next successor, your next incarnation knows everything that you know. Which, I mean, that wasn't objective in Avatar, but like you were always trained by like the spirit of the previous Avatar, like Korra with Aang and then Aang with Roku. It could be overwhelming because like you get the knowledge of every other Archon that came before you. You could just forget who you are at that point because you have so many of other people. You have more of other people's memories than you have your own, which is crazy.
A plan is a reliable guide, but it's not an unchangeable or divine decree. 500 years ago, I could never have anticipated your arrival. But after meeting you, I knew factoring you into my plan would be worth it. Judging from the outcome, choosing to fight by your side was unequivocally the right choice.
Ah, so good. Fighting side by side. Ancient names!
You may not have realized this, but your ancient name, Tumaini, will have a significant impact on Natlan for years to come.
Peak.
When future generations speak this name, they'll think about this battle and the efforts of all our heroes. Our names, Tumaini and Kiongozi, are now linked and will live on in perpetuity.
I've come to a shocking realization. I'm not claiming to be a ghostwriter, okay? That's not what I'm saying. When Natlan came out, and I listened to the Scions of the Canopy music for the first time, the nighttime song that plays is called Sifu Moto. That is my favorite song in Natlan. I tweeted about it during 5.0. In that song, the word Tumaini comes up. And it just so happens that Hoyoverse decided that Tumaini should be the name that becomes the Traveler's ancient name that just so happens to be my favorite song in Natlan. That's all I'm saying. Yo, Hoyoverse, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing me that solid. I know what's up. We know. Anyways, moving on.
For humans, visions and ancient names are both gifts from the gods, where the former bestows elemental power and the latter spiritual inspiration. However, I have always believed that no external factor is a condition for greatness. Heroism comes from within.
Yeah, get those visions out of here, okay, Celestia? We've had enough.
When I was little, my father told me that a barrel can only hold as much water as the shortest plank. If you want to reach your full potential, you need to be willing to become the weakest link, to acknowledge your shortcomings and learn from others. That doesn't make you a failure. It pushes you to succeed.
Yo, her father is goated. What the hell? That's some great advice. Imagine you're the worst at something, but you're really good. That's actually a compliment.
Baby Yumkasaurs are incredibly cute.
Yes.
And my Saurian companion Hitata was especially clingy. He used to jump into my arms the minute he saw me, even from quite a distance.
Hitata?
My sister Hine would get so jealous. Whenever she saw Hitata run towards me, she would do the same. Before I knew it, I would have an armful of baby Saurian and baby sister at the same time.
That is so cute. Also, what was... Oh, okay, so one was her companion. I guess the other one was her sister's companion? Because there were two in the family. Hitata and Hine. Oh my god, that is so adorable.
Shilonen is one of the best craftsmen in Natlan. She has the ability to forge ancient names and is well-versed in secret source technology.
Yep.
Not to mention, she never backs away from a challenge, even when it's completely uncharted territory. The process isn't without twists and turns, like design changes and other modifications, but the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, that Flame Strider prototype, am I right? Yeah, several modifications, by the way.
Many people find her strange or difficult to get along with, but...
Best girl.
This is how I see it.
Best.
Seat Lolly doesn't concern herself with trivial matters, but she's always there when it counts. I'm sure you've seen that for yourself.
Yes.
She's someone who can easily tunnel vision and get herself embroiled in trouble, so I try to keep certain things from her, but she can see right through me. She's too sharp.
Literal best girl of Natlan, your opinion does not matter, didn't ask.
Being able to survive under the influence of abyssal corrosion was already a miracle. But thanks to the people and Saurians of this land, she even found a reason not just to survive, but to live. I have every faith in her fortitude, but I will still do what I can to make this land a gentler place. Even the strongest among us need a break sometimes.
I'm still so sad about what happened to her sister. She had such a great design. Koichi.
In my opinion, Auroron's true personality is very different from what he projects on the outside, like lava covered in ice. His tribe and his friends bring him peace, but his drive to protect them and his need to become a hero leave him restless. It's inadvisable to act on impulse, but these are precious qualities all the same.
He's the goodest of boys, okay? He's the best boy of Natlan, I would say. Ian-san! Oh my god, please! Please be voiced when you come out.
A lot of people underestimated Ian-san during her first two pilgrimages after receiving her ancient name, and singled her out during the team stage as an easy target.
Uh-oh.
Even though she never lost, the constant challengers drained her stamina and affected her ranking, which only made people more likely to target her.
Imagine being amongst a mob of people, ganging up on one person, and you still lose. Go home. Give us contending fire some other way. You're not built for this life, okay? And I was shocked. I was actually shocked that Ian-san, signed up for this year's pilgrimage by herself. Literally the GOAT.
My advice to her was this. People are less likely to mess with someone whose strength is undeniable. So all she needed to do was to prove it.
Just flex on him.
Well, she decided to do just that by, challenging me in the arena.
Oh my
yeah,
god!
I definitely didn't see that coming. In the end, she put up quite the fight, and no one underestimated her again.
Oh my god! I would pay actual money to see that fight. I thought she was like, yeah, I'll challenge all of you one-on-one, but she was like, nah, I'll just fight the Pyro Archon, no big deal. God, that is so freaking peak.
In terms of personality, Mualani and Tupac are completely different.
Tupac!
And yet both inherited the name Umoja.
Yep.
Unity lies not in a particular action, but in a state of mind. A willingness to give your all for your nation, family, and friends. but I doubt Mualani was thinking about any of that back then. She knew one thing to be true, that Kachina's life was worth any risk to her own.
Oh, I love how she mentions Tupac, because that's like her friend from 500 years ago, and now Mualani is like her current friend from that same ancient name. So it's kind of like her friend kind of transcends through time with her, you know, which is really nice.
In addition to the Turnfire, Malipo has another meaning: cost or price. It may seem less overtly heroic compared to the other ancient names, but
yeah,
in truth, Malipo teaches us to be calm and analytical, to ask the questions people may not want to hear. Without people who possess these qualities, it's just too easy for the rest of us to act on impulse and emotion, and make decisions we'll come to regret.
I actually love how virtuous all of these ancient names are. Like, when you bring them all together, it's kind of virtuous to unite and to think critically. I think these are all pretty cool.
After you rescued Kachina from the Night Kingdom, I visited her family with Chief Pakal.
Oh.
And brought a few gifts to once again apologize for what happened. Kachina's time in the Night Kingdom left her with many scars she will have to carry into the future. Scars she should never have had to bear. And for that, the fault is mine.
When I immediately realized what the Night Warden Wars was, I was like, yeah, don't let her do this. Like, just let her participate in this tournament. It's fine. Because I knew she was inexperienced. Like, her first Night Warden War. It's like, clearly that's going to be traumatizing. Also, Vennessa, hello?
During the pilgrimage, I cover all the expenses at the Weary Inn. And without fail, there's always an order for a party tray for 80. I used to assume it was someone ordering for a large group of friends. But as it turns out, Vennessa ordered it all for herself.
Oh my god. Yo, girl can eat. Dude, she's probably like ripped. She's probably in such good shape. She's like, I'm in the gym 24/7. I'm running track and field. I'm fighting. I'm doing everything. Okay, I can't wait to meet Vennessa. Her and Ian-san. I'm excited for both of them. Aoife!
The truly great doctors often possess vast medical knowledge as well as great communication skills.
No way,
And
bro!
when the patient and the doctor do not speak the same language, observation and empathy become even more important.
What do you want about?
That's why Aoife can make friends with just about anyone. Suffice it to say, if someone is on bad terms with Aoife, human or Saurian, I doubt the problem lies with him.
Mavuika, do you hear yourself, bro? What's bro yapping about? God, I can't wait to meet Aoife. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rank #1, strongest member of the Fatui Harbingers, Thrain, the Sentinel Knight of Conria. Rest in peace, my king. What a fucking goat. What a real one.
For him, I suspect the past 500 years felt endless. When someone is deprived of death, life becomes a journey with no end, and the human spirit easily grows weary.
But not him. But not
I
him.
managed to seize the only chance of victory to arrive at the end he sought all along. I have great respect for warriors like him.
Hell yeah. You put respect on my captain's name. All of you naysayers who were talking down about my captain, look who's laughing now. All right, my captain saved Natlan. There's no one like him, and there never will be. And you guys experience peak. Just remember that. The 7? Actually, it's considered the 6 because Focalors gave up her life during the Act 5 Natlan Archon quest, okay? You need to change this. I'm offended. As a lore enthusiast. Anyways.
To be quite honest, you likely know them better than me. However, their nations continue to survive and thrive to this day, and that would be impossible without strong leadership. Once this chapter of Natlan's history comes to a close, I plan on strengthening our relationship with other nations so that Natlan can continue to grow.
Oh my god! Mavuika! Finally, there's an Archon that's like, I want to go and meet the other Archons. Good lord, I've been asking this shit for years. I want them to meet each other. Like, only Venti and Zhongli have had, like, extensive interactions on screen together, you know what I mean? By the time we get to Conria or Celestia, the Archons will have had to have, like, unionized, or rather united at that point. It's only a matter of time.
Oh, you want to know more about me? Sure. I'm actually quite fond of telling stories. Still, I think this will be a lot more fun over a few drinks.
Hell, yo, drinking contests, round 2?
Riding the Flame Strider isn't complicated, it just takes some practice. If I want to go fast, though, I would need to install some safety components. Huh? What was that? I'm already going quite fast?
Bruh.
Well, when I asked, this is what Shilonen told me. It's safe enough. Not like you're made of glass.
Yeah, you won't just shatter into a million pieces if you go, like, Mach 5.
Of course, I also have many regrets. Thanks to my knowledge and strength, I'm an effective problem solver. But most of the time, all people really need is companionship. I've disappointed many people in that regard. But duty stops for no one. Questioning my path will only bring more pain. I owe it to myself to stick to my convictions.
It's okay, Mavuika. When all this is done, you guys are all just gonna get some much-needed therapy, okay? The perfect yokai can fix you right up. Trust. With a bathhouse scene, potentially, as well. Just saying.
Unleashing the power of the Divine Throne bound my soul to the ley lines. As I rose up into the air, I could feel the passion of our warriors, the determination of our people,
Holy moly.
and the pain of our fallen. It's a scene I've witnessed once before. But with the help of our heroes, this time, it had a very different ending.
Yep.
That is how we know the struggle was not in vain.
Yeah, 500 years ago, her friends literally, like fucking Tupac, what a giga chad. Bro died standing up, sending her to her throne to be sent into the future after their fight with the Abyss. What a fucking giga chad. I loved all of them, dude. Manalek was so funny. What a freaking charmer, dude. I love that guy.
With our triumph over the Abyss, my most important duty as Pyro Archon came to an end.
Yep.
500 years ago, I chose to fight for a future that likely wouldn't include me. So I was prepared for that result. So when that future actually arrived, I was at a loss. But you've inspired me. Exploration, curiosity, and dedication to others. That's the path forward.
Hell yeah, gamers. For Natlan.
Getting stronger. Completing a difficult challenge, solving a complicated puzzle. Oh,
Yep.
defeating a powerful enemy? I don't have a singular hobby. The sense of accomplishment is what I enjoy the most.
She's like, I want to know I did a good job.
Due to lack of popularity, all future expansions and additions to the Saurian Sleuth have been suspended?
Oh no!
That was my favorite tabletop puzzle game. It can't be because it was too hard or the rules were too complicated, right? That doesn't make it bad. If it comes down to sales, there's not much I can do. I hope the creator will come out with a new game. Maybe I'll write an anonymous letter to support him.
She's like, my troubles, my favorite tabletop game isn't selling well because, not enough galaxy brains can deal with it. Oh, stew, that's her favorite, right?
Even when it comes to the simplest home-cooked meals, every family has their own recipe and the flavor can change a lot. I've tried a bunch of different stews around the stadium, each unique and delicious in its own way. But if I'm cooking for myself, I still prefer my family recipe.
Yeah, nothing beats a home-cooked meal.
I like most ingredients, but I don't really appreciate dishes that are more form than substance. Like a full-course dinner that will take 3 whole hours to get through. I respect culinary innovation, of course, but I prefer to spend my time on something more productive.
Damn, she's like, I can't eat all this. I can't eat 5 hours for 5 hours. That's crazy. Oh, gifts.
Just what I like, thank you. Do you have the recipe? I'd love to learn.
Yeah, so this is if you give them a gift during that event.
Not bad overall, but there's still room for improvement. Oh, it's surprisingly edible. Definitely not as bad as it looks.
Damn.
Perfect. I feel nice and loose. I can feel myself getting stronger, but my power doesn't stop here. My fire grows hotter, and my body and spirit more aligned. This power shall allow me to fulfill all my duties as a leader.
My body is ready.
Ever since we met, my power has grown by leaps and bounds. Though different missions drive us forward, a shared sense of duty and justice binds us together. Your help to Natlan is immeasurable, and I am more grateful than words can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pyro Archon. What a great character. Really awesome story. We're gonna check out all of the Archon voice lines. Alright. The world sure is cruel, forcing generations upon generations of human heroes to become cannon fodder in the fight against the dark. Well, when you say it like that, Jesus. But under Mavuika's leadership, they achieved a truly godlike feat. Starting with her? He's talking about Lady Vennessa? Starting with her, I suppose the Natlanese have always been like that. Ah, right. I heard Mavuika likes to drink. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Bro! Yeah, I think he's talking about Lady Vennessa. 'Cause she was from Natlan too. She had the red hair and everything. Let's go! Lady Vennessa was a redhead Natlanese, shipped off to Mondstadt, lived there, and like her bloodline kind of thrives through the Ragvinder clan, I would assume. That's always been my assumption after reading the manga. Also, yeah, potential memory loss because the Wyob and the Night Kingdom and all of that stuff. So if that was all affected back then she wouldn't even remember who she is, technically. Which is better than the alternative of like having mental psychotic breakdowns and stuff because the Wyob powers are like the Wyob's connection to you is so fragile and weak. Natlan's long history of struggle fueled its warriors to overcome the abyss and transcend fate to forge a new future. Behind this triumph stands a leader who wields both time and history as her weapons, with a level of strength that rivals the gods. She is impressive indeed. Yeah. I really hope she gets to meet y'all, especially you, Mr. Sussy Baka Man Zhongli. About Harbor him. When I arrived... Okay, I was not expecting that. Oh my god. When I first arrived in Conria 500 years ago, I saw a battlefield of scorched earth on the level of Musojin Gorge. God damn! The fury of the Pyro Archon. That was said to be the... Okay, so I guess that confirms it. I'm surprised she didn't say anything about Conria. Musojin Gorge is like the split that was made from the Musono Hitotachi killing Urabashi. So like that giant schism, like that A did, there's like a similar one in Conria, but of scorched earth from Mavuika, which is crazy. Now I have the opportunity to meet that human once again. Perhaps you could introduce me. We are both warriors. It would be nice to find a spacious place to engage in a practical exchange. Yo, holy moly, that would be freaking awesome. Very exciting overall. I really want all the Archons to meet. Like, I've never wanted something more in my life. Can you imagine? Nahida. I want Nahida to meet everyone. Alright, about Harborim. The Abyss manifested its power in a manner that is most devastating to the place in question. In Sumeru, it was forbidden knowledge. In Natlan, it was monstrous creatures. Our experience combating the Abyss is inapplicable to Natlan for that very reason, but I still regret that I was unable to offer aid. Thankfully, the crisis has now been resolved and Mavuika said many Natlanese are planning to visit Sumeru. I plan to welcome them with open arms. Well, technically, you already have. There's already one of them that's there right now. There's like an NPC in every nation after Act 5. God, I love Nahida. She's so sweet and innocent and precious and wholesome, and I love her to bits. So we're gonna do Farina next. Farina, that's okay. You did your time. All right, you can relax. All right, Chief Justice. How are you going to judge Mavuika now, even though she literally fought tooth and nail for humanity?
The Pyro Archon triumphed over the Abyss by leveraging rules and legacy. A truly commendable feat. Yet holding an authority seized from the dragons remains an unpardonable sin. I recognize, however, that Natlan has experienced great suffering, so I am in no hurry to act. You claim that historical records describe the battle against Xbalanque as a formal duel, and the victim's family was treated fairly? Complicated indeed, but a worthwhile consideration nonetheless.
Bro has daggers for freaking eyes right now for Zhongli. Bro's like, I can't wait to try your ass in court. I know you're a broke bitch. I know you can't afford a lawyer. I can't wait to freaking try you and find you guilty of your crimes with your NDAs and your nonsense. And then he looks at Nahida and he's like, she did her best. She tried. I can't be mad at her. And now Mavuika, he's like, she did a bad thing by having that gnosis, but she did save humanity, so I'll let that one, I'll take my time getting to her, you know what I mean? He's not exactly just like ruthless, you know what I mean? I feel like bro just has it out for Zhongli ever since the fucking last year's Lantern Rite Festival. I wonder what's gonna happen during this year's Lantern Rite, if there's gonna be any Fontaine features, like any major Fontaine feature characters around. I haven't started the event yet. I'm gonna be getting to it later this week, or next week rather, I'm gonna be starting it. We have 2 more things to read that pertain to Mavuika / Natlan. One of them is actually the Thousand Blazing Sun signature weapon, which is Mavuika's signature weapon. So let's check it out. A great sword that dazzles like the rising sun. It has witnessed the exhausting and rekindling of innumerable suns. So basically, this is the signature weapon of every Pyro Archon. Perhaps even the sun is but a dim star before the deep long night. But though fate be cruel and deceitful, it has never taken hope from us. Courage and memory has forged your throne. Death and sacrifice piled as firewood for your kindling. O unconquered sun, you who have shone upon generations unnumbered, bear witness now to Natlan's ideals and its future. Like the first ray of light cast by the awakened day, like dawn piercing through the hedge of night, when the great dragon who defied the heavens bowed its head, the long campaign finally reached its end. Holy shit. Stepping across the long and bloodied stair, the leader of the mortals reached for the primal fire. Oh, is this Xbalanque, right? The first ray of light? Stepping across the long and bloodied stair, the leader of the mortals reached for the primal fire, unquenched within the ineffable city. Though the people who had crushed the shackles laid upon them by another race had yet to learn the fate that awaited them. My goat! Before the fire-stealing sage could speak. God, if only someone got to him while he was still a dragon. Like still a youngin', you know what I mean? We have to deal with this bullshit now, because his son was a failure, unfortunately, in his eyes. Before the fire-stealing sage could speak, the god who pronounced death came forth without warning and showed the human Archon the arc of fate. It was a terrifying vision beyond mortal ken, a future with even less hope than dragonic tyranny. All life would be devoured by boundless darkness, turned into inorganic dust within the eternal abyss. The human Archon, whose domain was war, knew then that Natlan was not yet victorious, for a new war had now begun. Before the Sage of the Stolen Flame could speak, Renova showed Xbalanque the future of humanity. I was like, yo, you guys are gonna die. You guys don't got shit. And then he was like, I need to make a deal with you so that way we can survive. And so, you know, the rules of Natlan were forged. The Dragon Sage's foresight had told of Natlan's future rulers, one like a manticore, one like a wild fox. But he did not expect to come to revere the wisdom and cunning of Xbalanque, the Pyro Archon. The human Archon bartered with death for power, and the wisest of dragons too submitted to his plans. Bro finessed gods and dragons alike. What a freaking legend. But he had never intended to submit to the rules, nor did he ever consider fulfilling his oath to the one who had stolen the flame. Yeah. So you know what's crazy about that world quest, right? Pledge and Forgettance, I think is what it's called. Xbalanque and Washaklahun Ubakan's backs were turned to each other. They weren't joining, they were kind of opposing. Xbalanque became the Archon over Ochkan. I feel like the Sage was trying to use Xbalanque, and Xbalanque was trying to use the Sage. And like there was no true like companionship between the two of them like there is with Aether and our Tepetlisaur. And ultimately, I don't fault the guy. He's thinking of humanity's well-being over the dragons, which, by the way, he was right in assuming so, because Ubacan is literally trying to turn on humanity again now, because my half-dragon, half-human son is a failure, and not only failed to seize the authority of the Pyro Dragon Sovereign for my usage, but he also became your biggest fan, and that's an atrocity I can never forgive. By the name Harborim, life had become the sacred flame unquenchable, and the rules would be crafted into a divine throne ever blazing. People would choose to fight back with courage and perseverance, even in the face of horror and despair beyond comprehension. Short-lived lives would surely burn out, but the sunlight would disperse the darkness again and again. For the first sun that shone over the land of blazing fire saw something in the primal fire, in the ashes, in the eyes of countless people. He saw the Tainted One, defiled and devoured by the black abyss, yet nevertheless fighting to the last of humanity's sake. He saw the oh my god, this is the unfinished reverie. He saw the artisan whose eyes were dyed with golden tears, who alongside the crimson-eyed youth ensured that the sacred flame would endure. He saw the lost tribe wandering the lands. Wait, the lost tribe? Is he talking about Vennessa's tribe? He saw the lost tribe wandering the land, their warriors still fighting for freedom. Yo! Oh my god! They finally acknowledged the missing tribe of Natlan. Okay, so it was a missing tribe, and it was never recorded because it was hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. Finally, yeah, it was 1,000 years ago, actually, that the aristocracy and the age of Vennessa was around. Wow, okay, so the Lost Tribe. He saw the Lost Tribe wandering the land, their warriors still fighting for freedom. He saw the warm blood offered unto the burning spark of stars that lit up the long night until 1,000 suns had risen. Lord of the night, I entreat you, chronicle this, the first sun, the first ancient name, Kiangozi. What? His name is also the first ancient name of Natlan. That is so cool. Lord of the night, I entreat you, chronicle this, the first sun, the first ancient name, Kiangozi. I shall leave hope for the future. So long as the flame does not die, there shall still be hope. Tumaini, the traveler. Holy peak, guys. He literally saw everything. Oh my god, that is so freaking goated. What a great piece of lore. This was literally like Shibalanke's legacy. Oh, I love this, man. And they talked a bit about Ochkan and Ochkan Natlan, the Scarlet-Eyed Youth, the squad of the Unfinished Reverie. Like, he saw everything. He foresaw everything. I actually think this weapon reinforces the story quest for Mavuika, because despite him envisioning all of this, he was actually able to come back for a day to see the future that he fought for. And it's in great hands now, I would say. Fantastic. I absolutely love this lore session. And lastly, gamers, we're just tacking this off at the end. I don't know if it's related, but we are going to be checking out the Natlan Wing Glider, Wings of Soaring Flame. The old priest from the Masters of the Nightwind threw a handful of powder upon the bonfire. The flames leapt upward as if nourished by this, and they shone brighter still. What I am about to tell you is no story, but true history, brought to me upon the Nightwind. His withered, gnarled hand retrieved a thick branch, and with it he tended the fire, trying to make it still more intense. Teacher, please don't do this. This summer's night is unbearably hot already, his audience pleaded. Ah, what do you know? This is atmosphere building. And of course, it also keeps wild animals from getting too close. Whoa. A winged talking dragon, the grandchild of the Dragon Prince, named itself Sage's End, and it roamed the world, making life intolerable for humans. I beg your pardon? A winged talking dragon? That sounds like the sage. I don't know if the sage had wings. Actually, it kind of had like a a coat thing on almost. I don't know if it did, but it talked to us. It talked to Bibu. The grandchild of the Dragon Prince named itself Sage's End and roamed the world, making life intolerable for humans. One day, it made a bet with a human. Without the power of phlogiston, how shall humans control the skies? If one possesses the smoke-granted wisdom to mediate upon the depths, one shall float through the power hidden in one's forehead and vertex. But the person being asked lacked the wisdom to do so. What's so hard about that? The man raised up a roaring fire, using the pipe whipped up by the flame and swollen leather to propel himself into the skies. Many were the trials of this kind, until at last we Natlanese gained the ability to use phlogiston through sacrifice. So said the old priest before again throwing a handful of powder upon the flame. Sacrifice? No compact has been made with the Cuckoosaurs then. I think it means to say contract? No compact had been made with the Cuckoosaurs then, so he fell to his death. Wait, then why did these Natlanese not use the wing glider he sacrificed himself to pioneer? Who would use one of those if you already have a Cuckoosaur? Ha, it seems like you don't believe me. Why, I am fourth in seniority behind Master Sitlali. Are you doubting my words? This is an interesting read. A winged talking dragon, the grandchild of the Dragon Prince named its... Okay, so the grandchild of the Dragon Prince. I don't know who the Dragon Prince is. I don't know if that's referring to Washaklahun Ubakan, who is a talking dragon. Making life intolerable for humans, I could definitely see him doing that, like with what happened with Bona, for example. What he's expecting to do with the Traveler when we meet him at the volcano next, whenever that is in a couple patches. This seems like a Masters of the Nightwind related wing glider. It's like an old shaman telling this like ancient dragon story. Seems like Ochkan? Washaklahun Ubakan is the son of the Pyro Dragon, and then he would be the grandson of the... Okay, I see now. That would actually make sense. No. Named itself Sage's End, which would be kind of fitting, right? If your father was the sage and you're the sage's end, you're like his end goal. I don't know if I'm supposed to take this story completely seriously. We'll come back to this if any information checks out about it, but yeah, was not expecting that one to be as arbitrary as the Merciful Waters one. That one was just straight up, here's some fucking lore. There you have it, everybody. That is all of the lore regarding Natlan, Mavuika, the Pyro Archon, and everything else in between. I really, really, really hope you guys enjoyed this content. This is also my last recording in Canada, so any future uploads will most likely be posted when I'm back home in the States. We're actually going to be tackling, at some point, Lantern Rite in the next week or so. I'm going to wait for it all to be available, and then I'm going to start it. I think it started yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or the day before. Yeah, this is fantastic. This was great lore, great information. We got a lot more stuff than I was expecting for like Mavuika and especially Shibalanki with the weapon, and even the Pyro Dragon 07s. Unfortunately, you had to take 3 L's for the point to get across in the game. That's crazy. Yeah, at this point, we're going to be looking forward to the remainder of this patch with Lantern Rite. We have the Inazuma event next patch. Most likely after that, we're going to have the Collective of Plenty, Iansan, the Volcano, the last major world quest of Natlan with our Tepetlosaur companion, and then big chilling until the summer event, and then the prep for Snezhnaya and Nodcry. So I really, really appreciate all of you guys who tuned in and watched this when it's uploaded. Also, really appreciate everyone who was here live for the content. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. Take care.